Hello there, what if I told you that we could hide secret messages inside of a string of random emojis? Yeah, like these right here. Let's crack that code and have some fun with cryptography.
No! God, please,
Because
no!
who doesn't love emojis? Right? Right? But there is the catch. We need to make sure that only the right people can decode the message, while everyone else just sees a string of emojis. Don't worry, if this sounds tricky, by the end of this you'll understand some cool techniques that make it all work. Trust me, it's easier than it sounds. By the way, thank you for the love on the first video. Let's keep it going with some more weird and fun coding. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about turning weird, sometimes completely unnecessary, coding ideas into real projects. There is always a little chaos and some learning, and of course plenty of questionable decisions along the way. Let's get back to it. Stick around to the end, and by then you'll have your own secret messaging tool that's both fun and somewhat functional. Let's dive into this cryptic world of emoji messaging. Here's the deal. We're taking your average message, turning it into a bunch of random emojis, and scrambling it so much that even your cat who somehow manages to unlock your phone at 2 am will be clueless. But here's the twist. We're not just playing around with emojis for fun. We'll be using some clever techniques, let's just say a few cryptography basics, to make sure the message stays hidden. Don't worry, I promise, it's almost painless, mostly. Now, before we dive in, let's talk about cryptography. Sounds complicated, I know, but really it's just the art of hiding information. The same art you use to hide your homework folder from your parents.
Bruh.
People have been doing this for thousands of years, starting with the codes that look like they belong in a treasure map, or the algorithms that we use today to protect our passwords. Cryptography has literally changed the world. Caesar used it to hide his battle plans from his enemies. Fast forward to World War II, cracking the Enigma machine basically won the war. So yeah, cryptography is a big deal. And now we're using it to hide poop emojis in messages. Pretty sure Caesar didn't see that coming. Let's start very simple. We need a way to convert text into emojis. And for that, we'll start by turning each character in the message into a number. In computer lingo, that number is ASCII value, basically a numerical representation of each character. Once we have the number, we convert it into hexadecimal, which is just a way computers like to represent numbers because it's more efficient for certain operations. Think of it like the difference between using shorthand and writing out a whole word. So, if we encode the word subscribe, we first convert each letter into its ASCII value. For example, the letter S becomes 83, U becomes 117, and so on. Once we have the ASCII values, we convert them to hex. S becomes 53, U becomes 75, and so on. Now that we have our hex codes, we map each hex digit to a specific emoji. For instance, 5 might become this abomination, and 3 might become this glorious piece of art. Then we just keep going for each digit. At first glance, this looks pretty secure. We've hidden the message using emojis, and it's clever. But here's the problem. Someone could brute force the emojis mapping. While that may take a long time, the real issue is how predictable the pattern is. If someone knows how we're mapping emojis to hex digits, they could easily reverse engineer the message without much effort. Let's test that by encoding two similar words. Hello becomes and hey becomes. See what happens? The overlapping letters like H always map to the same emoji. This means the process is predictable. Even if we encode the message multiple times, it always looks the same. There is no randomness, so if someone figures out the pattern, they can easily crack the code and win a revision. This is where cryptography helps. We need to add some randomness to throw off anyone trying to guess our mapping, and that's where something called a salt comes in. So far, the emoji mapping has been predictable. The same letter always maps to the same emoji. Let's change that by adding some randomness using a salt. For example, let's pick this as our salt. This will shuffle the mapping and change how each letter gets encoded. Now, when I run the code, a hello will look different. See, adding salt changes the emoji mapping, so hello looks different. Now let's change the salt again, say to this. and see how it affects our output. Each time we change the salt, the emoji mapping shifts, making it harder to predict. Let's step up the randomness even more. Instead of using the salt directly, we'll scramble it using a hash function, specifically SHA-256. But what is a hash function? Think of it like throwing our salt into a blender. It scrambles the salt into something completely different, turning it into a fixed-length string of characters, no matter how big or small the input is. The key here is unpredictability. Even the tiniest change, like swapping one emoji, completely scrambles the output. That makes it nearly impossible to reverse engineer the original salt or guess what it was. Let's see it in action. First, let's hash the salt to create a uniform 64-character string. Then, shuffle the hexadecimal digits using the salt hash, where each hex digit is concatenated with the salt hash and hashed again. The resulting hash is used as a key to sort the hex digits in a new order. When I run the code, hello is encoded into a completely different string of emojis. There are a lot of ways this can be improved further. One of many things is making sure that the same letters map to different emojis. You can even make this into a one-way encryption tool by adding a timestamp or any unique value to the hash. So, we have talked a lot about security, but let's be real. This isn't a military-grade encryption. We're here to have fun. The goal is to send secret messages to your friends with emojis, not overthrowing governments, or is it? Now, you might be wondering, how does the person on the other end decode the message if they don't know the salt? Well, we could get all cryptographer on this, but we're keeping things playful. Instead, we'll just embed the salt directly into the message itself. Think of it like hiding a key in a plain sight. Let's place the salt in a known position, say after the second emoji. That way, whoever is decoding the message knows exactly where to find the salt and can use it to decode the rest. It's not bulletproof, but for fun communication tool, it's perfect. Right, we've encoded our message, added some salt, and now it's hidden. But how do we get the original message back? The decoder works by reversing all the steps we took to encode the message. First, we extract the salt from the message. Once we have that, we regenerate the emoji mapping, turn the emojis back into hex and hex back into text. Let's put it all together. I'll encode a message, "Thank you YouTube," and run it through the decoder. There it is, the decoded message. The salt did its job to keep the encoding unpredictable, and our decoder works perfectly. Now it's your turn to drop your most ridiculous emoji message into comments, and I'll try to decode a few of them. Just imagine, your boss gets an email full of emojis and only you know what it says. This is the next level secret messaging. Hit that like button, subscribe, and join our growing crew on a Discord before the emoji revolution really takes off.